and the private sector to enter into a unique and meaningful partnership. Every sovereign government has at its fingertips, within its grasp, eminent domain, the opportunity to take into consideration what the private individual has and utilize it for the public good. It's under our laws. It's a part of our laws. So in order to gain access to these lands along the coast, eminent domain would be invoked. We need roughly 550 feet across to come down. But look at this. When we are coming down from the Corozal district, Sartineja, right after the Sartineja boundary, you have a land holding of 5,000 acres, which belongs to a company called Balam Jungles, owned by Nathan Funk. Under that, you have 27,960 acres of property owned in two companies, Asia Development Limited and Empire Investment Limited. One major shareholder linked into a Chinese up there in Taiwan. That goes from Moscow down to Lucky Strike. From Lucky Strike down to Sand Hill, you have 19,760 acres owned by Philip Ruffin, a British expatriate. That goes to the Salt Creek boundary, which is 7,000 acres owned by the Salt Creek estate. Before it was Parsons, Jack Parsons before. Then you have 2,941 acres owned by Baker's Ranch. Thereafter it's Innova Properties. So there are these huge land holdings that have been in private hands since the colonial times. This was not no PUP UDP land deal. These are lands that have been in private hands as a result of gifts of the governor back in the day when the governor was the authority in these and Belize was a colony. So all the government is seeking to do now is to collect taxes on these, but they are not going to any productive use. We see that as great waste, especially when you consider that land on the coast is always recession proof. Case in point, during all these hard economic times, land in San Pedro, especially in San Pedro town, on the beach, goes for 10 to 12,000 US dollars per running foot, the length of a ruler. North of the bridge, land on the beach goes for 6 to 8,000 per running foot, north of the bridge that Mr. Bowen helped to build. On the backside facing the mainland, that same length of the ruler goes for $4,000 to $6,000. Now you have 5,280 feet in a statute mile. Let's just look at what the latent value of a mile would be on the Belizean mainland coast. If you take all the averages, the 4,000, the 8,000, the 10 to 12,000, and you give a rough average of 3,500, and we say that is the value of a running foot without this infrastructure being put in place. You multiply that 3,500 by 5,280, you will get 18,480,000 US dollars being the value of 1 mile of Belizean coastline on the mainland. Now, is that a stretch? No. The reason why it's not a stretch, if you go down to Placencia.
Are you compare it?
Placencia has the most valuable surface land per foot of any place, including San Pedro. 20 to 25,000 US dollars per running foot in Placencia, for one reason and one reason only. It's mainland and it has road access. And now that the road has been improved, that price is going up. So we're talking about adding first value to the country, giving people who are otherwise impoverished and basically without true collateral that can be of use to them, collateral that they can use. Well, let's start with who would be affected by this. Copperbank, Shunush, Sartineja, Bomba, Mascal, Antana, Corozalito, Lucky Strike, Sand Hill, Burrell Boom, because we would bypass the city, forcing the city to expand outwards. by taking a diversion at the Boom Hattieville Road. Then we come back now east thereafter to catch the Saboon Bar and go down. So what this proposes to do is to create a continuous and unbroken economic belt for the length of the country. When the Mexicans built the road connecting Chetumal with Cancun, prior to that, Bacalar was a dump site for garbage. You could smell garbage when you go to Chetumal from Bacalar. After the road was built, Bacalar became a tourist destination. Mahawal became a household word. Tulum, we came to know Tulum. Playa del Carmen. All these places flourished. This is what would happen.
I have no way of. You want to take a break?
Yeah, we need to.
All right, let's take a break and come back.
28 minutes before 9 o'clock, the morning show on Love FM, and we're chatting this morning with Arthur
Saldívar.
And we just heard about the Gladden plan.
Arthur, if I can call you that, you know, yes, until you become a minister, and have to call you Mr. Saldívar, you know. But you know what you put here, and you're right. I've heard this before. You know, Belize. Basically, what you're saying, Belize should be a port, should be a place that people want to use or business to transport, and transportation is essential to any country, any culture. And somehow we've missed the boat. Forgive the pun. We've missed the boat. And I suppose I told you this sounds good, and you mentioned what they did with Cancun. It's true. Mexicans got together and they created this to use this part of Quintana Roo. But they did this years ago. Yeah. And this plan you have here, how old is it? It's years old. It was an awesome plan 20, 30 years ago. But haven't we missed the boat now? We have, Guatemala is improving their port facilities. Honduras is working on improving their port facilities. And what we are doing here, fighting within ourselves, within our port facility, we missed the boat. No, we haven't.
We have not. As I explained before when I just came on, that we're unique. We belong to.
Yeah, that's why we're unique. We
belong to Sika. We belong to Sika. We belong to Sika.
Unique.
We belong to Sika. And we belong to CARICOM.
Mm-hmm.
We remember the Commonwealth.
Yes.
The wider Commonwealth. Guatemala cannot boast that. None of the Central American countries can boast that.
Well,
Mexico cannot.
Someone tell you that's not a boast.
Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Hold on. We are the bridge. The key. What I'm saying, in terms of these industrial parks that I'm talking about, this is the enticement for the Guatemalan producer, industrialist, to come in, to get into the Jamaican market, the Australian market, or the Indian market, circumventing the GATT and WTO restrictions. This is the bridge for the Trinidadian industrialist with his technological advancement to come in, to get into the Mexican, the Guatemalan, Central American, and Southern market. But here's a kicker to this whole thing. No matter how much the Guatemalans build up Santo Tomas or Puerto Barrios, remember it's for Honduras.
Right.
It doesn't belong to Guatemala, they're only renting it.
Yeah, that's true.
We have, as I explained, now we have found oil. And you have heard me many, many times call in this radio station and pushing to refine oil. Should we do that, Ernesto? It is the Rosetta Stone that will open up for us many industrial possibilities. And here's the first one. If we go basic and produce bunker fuel for the refueling of ships, as I've explained, the ships pass Robinson Point routinely. Every time they are taking their trips and journeys from North America down through to Panama or down through to Argentina, they pass Robinson Point. Once they're coming down the Atlantic, if we are refining the oil in Belize and producing bunker fuel, a ship leaving Canada or any part of North America can travel with half the amount of fuel, twice the amount of goods, and refuel in Belize. So this may not even be a port of call, but it becomes an unavoidable stop on their journey. What does that do for us? Goods are cheaper. We can get our stuff out cheaper. What does it do for them? More goods on their ships and less fuel means more profits for the international shipping agent. It's not rocket science. It's common sense.
Well, yeah, like I was about to, I'm not qualified to dispute your statistics and your facts. Some of it I'm familiar with, some of it I've heard before, and I will tend to think that a lot of what you're saying has some merit to it. Is this a pie in the sky dream? We know that there's gold in them, there are hills, but we have to move the hill to find the gold. So who will move the hill? Who do we as a country? Okay, for this to happen though, you need other things in place. You need like education, you need human infrastructure, you need a population, you need an attitude, you need enforcement of laws. You know, it just doesn't happen overnight. I mean, people will come in and say, yeah, I will build this road for you, you know, but you have to create some sustainability program so you have the road here for the next 50 years or next 100 years.
Key point.
Yeah.
What we're talking about first and foremost is that presently we're dealing with a country and a population that is suffering from a general state of low self-esteem.
Okay.
Mainly because there's nothing to look to of great achievement that we've done.
That's why we love Chatham
physically.
Marathon?
I would imagine so. The generation of Belizeans who were part of the independence movement, they are older now. The younger generation don't really have much to hang on to. Mm-hmm. Independence for us have been, yes, we don't have England now as our master, quote unquote, in a political sense. But we still have England, America, and all of these first world countries who we depend on as our quote unquote trading partners that we don't really offer much to of value. And they are really and truly just handling us as if we were beggars at an almshouse. The key to getting out of that, is first, as you explained, education. An educated person is a free person, especially when that educated person has a job. This plan provides jobs. Let me bring it down to Haslow's theory of needs, okay? Addressing what the people require. They require jobs, they require employment. We need now, once we are to set along the path to realizing this, development-focused education. We have a University of Belize. Mm-hmm. The University of Belize should not be producing solely business administration
I agree.
Graduates.
We've talked about that. Mm-hmm.
Is it cheaper to send 25, 30 people outside to study engineering, or is it cheaper and more effective to bring in 2 or 3 professors to teach Belizeans engineering? We know what we require. It's a question of the will to get it done. And it's not a pie in the sky. The reason why I'm here and speaking about it, because I'm passionate about this country.
I can hear that.
Okay? I know where we can go. And as long as I draw breath, I will fight for us to get there.
It comes to mind, you know, if I was the leader of the country, you know, we're talking here, and this is the kind of discussion we try to promote on this radio station. Unfortunately, we can't get that many people to come in and express their views because the first thing you're categorized as either or against me or for me. Yeah. You mentioned about the educated and the university, and when I was chatting with the Prime Minister, I mentioned that we have a census coming up